I certainly hope the audience can hear this music.
Me too. This is the dance karaoke version of the Brick House, right?
This Kate always calls them Brick House, even though they are
Brick House Mortgage.
Brick
Road. That's right.
That's all right. We like the song.
All right. Hey friends, how are you? So this is ReaLAWstate with Patti and Kate. I am Kate, and this is
I am Patti.
And we are here. We are so excited that we have a guest with us tonight. This is a Meagan Nelson Arone sandwich, and we are
Lucky her.
Yeah. So we are here with her, and we're going to talk about a few things. First of all, we're going to tell a little bit of time about her journey, and then taking it from there. And once you're like so totally inspired and pumped up, then we're going to take it into a couple of practical tools and tips and myth busting she has for you. So I want to start with what's behind here, which is, I don't know if you can see it. Oh, there we go. There we go. So it says, if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door.
Build a door, baby.
Build a door. So that is one of the things that we as a company at Bold want to talk about, which is, you know, make your dreams and your stuff happen, okay, if you want them, right? And when we were talking about that and we knew that Meg could make it tonight, in her extremely busy schedule. Wait till she tells you all about her fun Arone ponies. Yeah. Anyway, so she's like, you didn't say that. Oh so God. Anyways, so is you know, make it happen, and she's going to tell us how she made it happen. And so anyways, why don't you tell us a little bit about your company? Sure. To start with, and then we'll back it up from there.
So I'm Meagan Arone, and I'm the managing partner at Brick Road Mortgage. My husband and I started this company about 5 years ago, but my journey really started back in college, really. I was working at a mortgage company and doing some processing and answering phones and post-closing. And from there, I went on to get my MBA, and I got a job in property management. And I worked in property management for 5 years up in Boston and surrounding areas of Boston. And then I landed a job in a coveted leadership development program at a high-tech company.
EMC.
At EMC, yes. And I spent 5 years straight grinding out corporate America. And I was in a global role. I worked crazy long hours, starting at 7 a.m., often ending at 10 p.m., talking to people over in Asia. Yeah.
Thanks for that thumbs up.
And
Mark
Arone. Oh, thank you, honey.
You better be giving thumbs up.
Yeah. Hearts.
Woo! And all the while, you know, my husband was working in loans. He started in the loan business at 19 years old. He was out in Vegas for 5 to 6 years, went to Miami for 2 to 3 years, then back up to Boston, was working at a mortgage company. And I remember I came home after a really long day, and we were standing in our bathroom together at either one of our sinks, and he was like, I think I'm going to start my own mortgage company. And my heart sank into my stomach because I really wanted to be that supportive wife, right? And encouraging him, like, what a great idea.
Sure,
honey, you got this. But at the same time, I was cringing and panicking, like, how the hell are we going to do this, right? But, you know, he was strong-headed as normal and wanted to go ahead. He wanted to go ahead and do it.
Mark,
and so,
build the door.
Yeah, he built that door. And for 6 to 8 months, he really just took a crack at it and built Brick Road for us. And the goal really was for us to do it together, right? And have me leave corporate America and blow out a business together. And that's exactly what we have done. I will remember a turning point for me, you know, when I was getting in my car and I was still at my corporate America job, and I was getting to my mom car. I had my 2 kids in the back. I'm on a conference call, and my husband's standing at the garage door waving goodbye to me, and he's in his basketball shorts and shirtless doing loans from our house. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing what I'm doing? I want to be doing what he's doing. And,
which is amazing. And just, I know we're not here to talk about that, but so many people talk about things they want to do, and they're afraid to take that leap. It's so scary. You got 2 kids, you got to put food on the table, and you burned your ships, and you jumped, and you did it, and here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah, amazing. She built her door.
Awesome.
And, you know, I got to tell you, I remember going out to lunch right about this time with you. Yes. And we were just talking about like the risks involved and like the fear factor and just really overcoming all of those fears and saying, I'm going for it. I have trust in the process I have trust in our product. I have trust in my husband.
Yes.
And I have trust in myself.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's half the battle, is just reassuring yourself. I think we probably talk the most head trash in our own heads.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. You would never treat a friend the way that you treat yourself.
Absolutely.
Right? Or say to your friend what you say to yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So anyway, so now she's involved with her husband at Not Brick House Mortgage.
Good job, Kate.
I know, I'm learning. It's Brick Road Mortgage. And, you know, I have to say that, friends, if you are watching, especially in the replay, is go find them on Instagram and Facebook, because you will see, we're going to talk about what makes them special, but I got to be honest, like, I think that, you know, just watching the way that you take care of your clients and the way you treat them, and, you know, your really personal, like, approach with them is really kind of super special.
Yes.
So I love it. I love it. I love seeing their stuff. Pick the brick.
I've sent a couple of clients to her who had some problem credit issues, and she's hands-on, not judgmental. She just wants to get them to succeed, and that's huge. Like, a lot of times there's just number crunching mortgage originators. If you don't fit their mold, see you later. And she works with them, and there's been a lot of success, and I've handled closings for them. And before she even arrives at the closing, these people are raving about Brick Road. So that's what I love about them, I'm telling you. But anyways,
I know we were talking about differentiators, right, for Brick Road and what really makes us stand out. And I have to say, when people think about going to get a mortgage, I feel like there's this perception that there's like a stiffness with loan officers, right? And there's not an element of approachability. And I think that's really one of the biggest difference with us, is that we're just people, and we have a genuine interest in just trying to help people and point them in the right direction.
And that's awesome.
And so speaking of fear, like, I know, like, you know, we do this all the time, so we forget how riddled with fear people are when they come to meet with us. And so tell me, like, when someone's afraid, they're like, oh my gosh, I could never get a mortgage. You know, so walk me through the process of what you do with them, and how that evolves from that person coming to you.
Honestly, I think the hardest part for people to even start the process is really just picking up the phone, right? Because they just are afraid to even find out what the answer may be. So I guess my first point is just to encourage people that it's not going to hurt you to find out where you stand today, right? And it's definitely not going to hurt you to get a little bit of a plan on, if you're not ready today, what do you need to do to get where you need to be in order to buy?
Because we all start somewhere.
We
all had our first mortgage. We all had to make that first call.
Yeah, and it's just a conversation generally up front, right? There's nothing to be afraid of. I'm going to ask you questions, and you're going to know all of the answers. It's like, what's your address? What do you do for work? Like,
what's your minute? And if you can't handle that, then maybe you shouldn't be buying it.
Right. And I think, like, the big mystery factor is really around credit, right? Because not everyone has a good grasp on where their credit is or what may be reporting on their credit report.
Because it does feel very mysterious. Like, and I think that it's like they are like, well, it's the analytics. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Like, because you can't, they won't tell you what gets all churned in there. But what have you learned?
Yeah, so why does credit matter, I think, right?
Why does credit matter? Sure. So, I mean, credit has such a significant role in our world because we finance so much, right? Like, we have to finance our homes, we have to finance our cars, our student loans, credit cards. And when you don't have great credit or any credit at all, it's gonna impact you from a cost perspective. So there's gonna be additional costs involved when you have bad credit or a higher interest rate associated with any financing that you take out. I mean, even from a rental standpoint, if you don't have great credit and you apply to rent an apartment and they see that, they might ask for additional security deposits, right? So it makes a lot of sense to be mindful of what your credit is or what you can do to fix it if it's not an ideal score.
And isn't it easier than ever to check your credit even on your own?
So I walk a fine line in recommending some of those credit apps, because I do think they're great for getting a sense of what is being reported, but not all 3 credit bureaus are generally on the same credit app, and they all have different algorithms and may only look certain X number of years back, right? So the scores that I pull on a mortgage credit report never, and I'll say 99.9999% never match what you see on a credit app.
Interesting.
But I do recommend them for trending.
There's a myth right there.
Yes, but I do recommend them for trending. So, like, if you're trying to do some repair work, you know, you'll pull some levers and you'll see on the credit trackers some of the behaviors that will be reflected there. So if you pay off your credit cards, you'll probably see in the next 30 days or so that, hey, all my scores are going up.
Yep.
It may not be an accurate score, but hey, they're going up. And that's good news, right?
Yeah,
don't take that to the bank.
No.
Right.
No, I use Credit Karma, and it's so funny you say that because I did notice only 2 are on there, and I was like, oh, where's that third one? Then I was like, maybe I don't want to know what's on the third one.
I mean, there's a reason it's not.
I like the other 2,
right?
but
But that's normal. There's only 2 on that one.
So if you're going for a loan, what would be a good credit score, or what's a good starting point? What's your suggestion on that?
So this is another tricky question to answer because all loan programs.
Can I just stop for a second? Now you know how I feel. Every time I ask you something and you say, it depends.
I know. Well, I know. I mean, that's a loaded question, right? That's a loaded question.
What can I say?
Yeah. And there's different answers that fit the question. It depends. It depends.
It depends.
I should have said that, Patty.
Good lawyer.
It depends,
All
right? But, I mean, government loans are more friendly towards lower credit scores. So if you're looking at the government loan space, I mean, you can technically get a loan down to like a 550.
Wow.
Right? And I don't recommend really going out and doing that because there obviously are some costs or some overlays on the program guidelines that will affect what you can.
The loan will cost you more, right?
The interest rate will likely be hit.
Okay, so the interest rate's higher on the lower scores.
Right.
Well, look, we got hearts.
And a laugh face.
A laugh face for it depends, right?
It depends.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but I mean, ideally for the government loan sector, you want to be in the 600 range. And when you start looking at conventional loan programs, like they favor a better credit score, like 680 and above, you know, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if somebody has one of those lower scores, what would be some of your, and I know it's very specific to each borrower, but what's some of your suggestions maybe people can look at in their lives and what they have going on to maybe improve that?
Okay, so very basic.
Yeah.
Pay your bills on time.
Oh,
right?
there you go.
Okay, very basic. Shouldn't have to say it, but I do. I do have to say it.
Yeah.
Second to that, if you know there's no derogatory items on the credit to really repair, but you do want to see a bump in scores, I would recommend getting rid of some of those credit cards and not closing them out, but paying them down to 0.
Okay.
And if you can't pay them down to 0, even less than like 50% of the utilization, right, of the available balance. So say you have a credit card for $1,000. If you pay that under $500, you'll see the score reflect a positive number.
That's a good
and if
tip.
you pay it down even more, like closer to 0, then you'll see an even better score.
That's an excellent tip. I love that.
Yeah.
So should they though close them? Because
no, I really don't recommend closing them. I mean, I recommend keeping the balances as low as possible. And the reason why is because sometimes if you don't have enough trade lines, it can affect you qualifying. So generally lenders want to see you have at least 3 positive trade lines with some good history.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I don't recommend closing all of your cards unless there's a specific reason. But I wouldn't generally.
And I don't know if you'll know this, but so let's just say you have a borrower who's just not good at paying the bills on time, pays them all, but just maybe not on time. If they start consciously paying them on time, as you recommend, is there a certain amount of time that has to go by before you see maybe an increase to your credit score, or?
So it depends on the damage that's been done, right?
Yeah.
It depends.
So if there's been a lot of damage, it can take a few months for you to start seeing.
A few months isn't bad though.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I really like is you get them on a path, you know, of, okay, so here's where you're at, here's where you're going to go, here's what I need you to do in the meantime.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that is something that's really cool. And I see sometimes on the reviews that you guys get is that people are just so super excited that you were on that journey with them.
Yes.
You know,
we're definitely hand holders without a doubt.
Yeah.
I love it.
And so, okay, so we get that now. So you talked about being bruised. So if they know that they have something that they didn't pay, go back and pay it.
I would, yes, because I think a lot of times too people like, oh, I know I had a collection with Comcast, right? And it affected my credit score in a negative way. They think like as time goes by, it'll get better. But the creditors have a right to keep reporting that as back owed debt. And so every 30 to 45 days, like they can say, okay, there's an open collection, and that can continue to drag your score down.
Wow.
So you want to be mindful of what's derogatory and try to get rid of it.
Okay, so don't ignore it. Don't stick your head in the sand.
No, you want to pay attention.
Yeah.
And get rid of that.
Are there any kind of common misconceptions about credit, or is that maybe one of them that it can keep hitting you? It isn't just a one-time hit.
That's definitely one. Another big one is just people thinking that they have to use their credit cards in order to build credit.
Okay.
The best way to build credit is to have access to it, but to not touch it, not use it. So like if you opened a card and just kept it at 0,
I tell my kids to put the gas on it and then pay it off.
Yeah, and that's
so
what
that
my
they show
mom taught
activity.
me, and that's great as long as you don't have any derogatory items, right? But the best way to really benefit from credit and to build credit scores is to just not even use any credit you have access to.
Yeah.
So I could open up that store credit, get that discount, pay that off, and then just leave it alone.
You could, yes, without a doubt.
Interesting.
I always tell people too, especially when they're applying for loans, it's like you don't want to go get a credit card and then rack it up and then try to pay it off because you don't know the reporting cycle of the creditor.
Oh, well,
and if they
point.
report to the bureau, it's like, hey, they just racked up this card for, you know, $5,000.
Yep.
It's going to affect your debt to income ratio when you're qualifying for a loan. That plays a role, right?
Gotcha.
So
very cool.
Yes.
So this was tons of good information. I think that it's a great start, you guys. So how can we inspire you with this information? You know, I think that one of the things that I know is that when I hear clarity, you know, I always say, like, when you confuse, you lose, right? And so you're like, I'm already less confused.
Yes.
You know, and I can imagine if you're watching this, then that maybe that's how you feel. So where can I find you?
You can find me right at brickroadmortgage.com. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/brickroadmortgage.
I don't know if they can see this.
There's my cell phone number right on there.
Can you see?
Oh, a little up. Yeah. But don't hesitate. I mean, I feel like one of the most common things that I hear from people is that they got denied and they have no direction, right? And that's really the biggest difference for us is we're going to spend the time with you so you understand where the gaps are. We're going to organize a little plan for you. We're going to prioritize things, and then we're going to team up with you so you stay motivated.
I love it. You were calling her a mortgage coach.
Yeah, which I love.
I think that's great. Totally, like mortgage coaching, like whatever you do in life, you have to gain knowledge about it. So whether you're trying to open up a new business, maybe you buy some books on that business, or you talk to somebody who's done it already. Like, she is a mortgage coach who, no matter what stage you're in, she can coach you through it. And she does it with enthusiasm because she loves succeeding at the end. She loves beating the system, so to speak. So I think that's awesome. So
awesome. So we want to say hi to who's here. How about that?
Okay.
So I want to say hi to Mark, Kate, Lena, Tracy. You guys, thank you so much for joining us. And do you have any questions for us before we let her go? Do you have any?
Well, let's talk about something else while we wait, because we do that every week and then we shut off.
And then all the questions come in.
We're going to work on that.
Yes. All right. So we're going to wait for 1 minute for you guys to have that.
All right.
Oh, no, we're dancing again. I really hope they can hear this music, because otherwise we are very silly.
Where's the audio? I don't know where the audio is. It's just there. You can hear the music, right? Are you guys dancing at home? Waiting for the question.
My husband's dying laughing.
All right. We're going to say you don't have any questions. So, but bring your questions to Brick Road Mortgage or check in with us, and we can always direct you over. We'll also share this out to hers. Thank you for those hearts and thumbs ups. And that's probably a laughy one.
Yes.
Laughy face. Mark, do you love that dance?
Yes.
All right. Guys, thank you so much. And remember, do not let anything stop you. When a door opportunity does not knock, what you're going to do is you're going to build that door. You got that? We'll see you later.
Nice brick road door.
Thanks for having me.